right, we are back in the booth tonight, and what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be doing one of these bigger swim baits. These swim baits come from Lure Build. You can get them in multi-colored tail options. I chose the clear one on this one because I'm going to try to play with some dyes on this when we get done. We're going to be using a new Green Stuff World Colorshift paint called Storm Surge Green. So let's get to it. So I've pretty much done what I usually do. I put a coat of Autoborn sealer on, and I came back over it with a coat of titanium white. And we're going to do the same sort of technique that we used on the last video. We're going to go ahead and do a use these texture stencils. We're going to get a little bit of black in our gun, and we're going to try to pull these over where I can do them right here on camera where you can see it, if I can get it to stay still. That's the only thing I don't like about helping hands. They're not as solid as my my lure holder. I like my lure holder by far better because I can just spin it and do my thing with it. This thing, the only time I ever use these helping hands is with this. I don't really care for them. So let me get my gun and let's get some black paint in it. Make sure we got enough. Because the key to the Colorshift paint is actually putting the black down. So we're going to take the same Gerald Mendez stencil we used on the last video, and I'm just going to do, I'm not going to come down as far. I came down a little farther than what I liked before, because I didn't get to use my kill dot, and I'm going to try to do that this time. So we're not going to come down quite as far. So we're going to kind of eyeball this and just set it up here, and we'll just go over the top of the stencil, go all the way up, come on back down again. And then we'll do the same thing here. And that gives it a cool looking pattern. So what we'll do is we'll flip it around. Let me turn it up where I can get to it. And we'll do the same thing with it. Whoa, that's exactly why I don't like using them. They're just not, I put them in my stand, they're good to go. This thing right here, I don't use them that much. I don't do a lot of swim baits. And then we'll come down and do the same here. I just like the way the spotchety looks on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and just I'm just going to fill the top in. I'm not going to do a lot on the sides because I'm using the Colorshift. I will do these, I'll fill in this on the side, but I'm not going to go down into the spots. I like the spots, but I want to make sure where I put the black, it is going to be very dark because you're going to be using that Colorshift, and for it to work right, you really got to have some good black on it. So let's go down, and I'm going to put some on the eyes because I'm going to shoot the Colorshift over the eyes also. I want it to kind of show. I'm going to let that dry just for a second. I'm going to walk over here while I've got black in the gun, and I'm going to go ahead and I didn't bring my kill dot stencil over. Hang on just a second. Let me grab it. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on. And I'll probably go ahead and I'm going to put a fin on this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that too. So the stencil I'm using is actually I'm trying to see what this thing says. It is a shadow shield. And I've just put tape on it because I don't want overspray getting all over my bait. So I'm going to use this one here. I like this size. And what I'll do is I'll just put that corner on the gill and I'll set it in, get my gun back out, And I'll just fill her in just lightly. Oop, that wasn't too lightly, was it? And we'll spin it around. I may put a little bit of color shift on that too, just to have some fun with it, to do something different. So let me dry that off, because I did blast it. The gun had a little dry tip, I guess. When I went to hit it, paint came flying out of it. So I'll spin it around, put it on the corner of my gill. Let me see where that lined up. It lined up just above the line. So I can take that. That's about right. And you just want to make sure when you put it on that it's flat. You don't want to blow paint up under a stencil. That turned out better. Okay, so I'm going to set that down. I'll go over that later in the end of the video. I'll set it up here in the front. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a stencil from Whitmore Farm, Jeff. And this is a Fins V1. And I like this one fin down at the bottom. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to do this in the video, but it may not lay flat enough for me to do that. I may have to take it out. Let me just go ahead and take it out and lay it down. I think that'll work a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use this one on the bottom. That's just one of my favorites that I like. I'm going to try to pull it off, just off of the gill plate down there. And then I'm just going to just hit it lightly. Okay, set that down, pull it off, and there you go. Gives it a cool look. And what you can do, you can actually shoot anything that's got black on the bait, you can shoot the color shift over. So you can kind of play with it and do it whatever way you like. It's really kind of just up to your creativity and what you want to do. Okay, and there you go. It's not a really hard pattern to do. It's just all about practicing with the with your brush and practicing with the stencils and making sure that you're not blowing up under them and just not blowing too much pressure on it. You want to kind of shoot stencils on 20 or less. So we'll put this back in the helping hands. And then I'm going to heat set it and let it dry. I'm going to put a little bit more black right here. I don't like it's a little light here. Because like I said, you're putting color shift over that. And you just want to make sure the darker the better it's going to look. I don't want to take all the blotchiness off of it because I'm still going to put some blotchiness in another color. So I'm going to go ahead and clean my gun out real quick. And get that cleaned out, let that dry good. I'm going to heat set it. And I've got another new stencil from Anarchy. It's actually the bigger brother of the tip scale that I used in my last video with the dirty shad. It's going to be the bigger brother version of it. It's going to be a bigger scale pattern because you're on a bigger bait. You don't want to use well, let me tell you this first. When you buy the just the tips, you get the small and the mini together. So you actually get two stencils, which is very nice. So you're gonna get the small one, which I used on the side Sonic, and then you're gonna get the bigger one that I'm gonna use on this tonight. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds with it. So I'm gonna take this gun off. I'm not gonna spray that color shift through my micron. I'm going to put my PS 270 on, 771 on. Get a little reducer. Just make sure everything's working all right. Now, I've been asked a lot of questions about these tips on my triggers. All they are is trigger pads. I got them from Airbrush, US Airbrush Supply. I ordered 4 or 5 of them. I put them on all the guns but the Micron, because I've just gotten the Micron. I haven't had it long. And I just like the pads. It's just a very, very comfortable feel. I just take some, I'll show you, I got it. And it's not, this brand is not specific, but it's just caulking. And I use this Flex Shot because it's in a can. I don't have to have a trigger thing, you slide it in. I can just, that's got like pressure on it. I can put a little bit on it and I'm good to go. So if you're interested in that, you can get those at US Airbrush Supply. They're not a sponsor of the video. I bought those with my own money. So what we're going to do, we're going to try this new paint. It is a Green Stuff World Storm Surge Green. And it's a very cool color. It kind of goes blue to green. I think it's going to be very nice on this shad bait that we're doing. I think it's going to give it some cool colors. I like using the greens and the blues on the shad. Let me just go ahead and heat set this too real quick. I didn't do that. Let me just heat set it real fast just to make sure we don't have any wet spots. So it's a cool technique if you haven't used it, and there's a lot of different Colorshift paints out there. I've got a lot from Lure Build that are super cool, so go check Jimmy out. He's got some light chameleons and a ton of other shifting paints. I've tried these Green Stuff World. I've got Auto Airs. I've got the Turbo Dork. There's such a good variety out there that you can use to have the color shift to get the color that you're looking for. And it really is kind of fun to paint and just do some different stuff. So let's see here. All right, so we're going to put some of this in the gun. And just a little tip for you, when you get this Green Stuff World, I think this company is actually in Spain. It took me a couple of weeks to get this. Clear the nozzles out really good, because I didn't on the first go round, and I went to put a little pressure on that bottle and the cap popped off and it went all over the place, and that wasn't good for the shop. I just cleaned up everything. So just another little tip there on that. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I've got this on about 20, and I'm gonna start out on the top. And it's already changing that fast. It is a very cool color. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go around the eyes with it. We're going to go ahead and change it to this Storm Surge Green, and that looks really cool. It actually does a really cool job. I'll leave some of the blotches black on here. We just want to make sure we get that green on there good. Make sure we get it around the eyes. We can even hit a little bit on this kill dot, just a little on the fin, just to kind of give it take all that black out of it. And that really makes the bait. I got some nice, cool silver eyes. I think this is going to look really natural. So we're going to let this dry. I only got a little bit left in here. I think I'm just going to go ahead and paint it out. So that's kind of what it looks like. It's got a really neat green blue shade. It's called Storm Surge Green. When I actually saw the video on this, I was watching a channel, Barbatos Rex. He does a lot of paint testing and stuff, and I just happened to watch it, and I ordered some of it, just curious, but the colors are fantastic. I still got another one I have not used. It's called Nebula Copper. I've already used Burning Gold. Well, let's put it this way. I did a video and I ended up deleting it because I didn't think the bait looked good. I'm working on a goldfish, and I just didn't like it, so I deleted it. But I'm still working on that, and that'll be coming soon too. So we're going to go ahead and heat set this, and then we're going to go ahead and put our fins and put our distressed look on it. Okay. All right, so I think what we're going to do, there's a couple ways you can do this. I could put the scaling in white, but I think I'm going to go back with the black and go over the little bit of green where I am going to put it. I'm going to leave the top Storm Surge green and blue. I'm going to leave the eyes that way. I will put some I am going to put a little bit of gold on the face. Again, I kind of like that look. I think it just kind of gives it a really neat look. But what we'll do first is we're going to take some iridescent Pearl Fine, and we're going to scuff him up on the side a little bit. And we're going to use one of the Gerald Mendez texture stencils for this, and get that done. I think that's really what makes these baits, to be honest with you. I think it makes them actually look real. It gives them that, because like I said, they're not perfect. I mean, we could come out here and paint a clean, I could paint a clean shad all day long, but that's, I mean, I guess it's really what you're looking for. It's just, I just don't think that's what they look like. I mean, they're going to look a little beat up. They're constantly getting chased by something, so I think it just works out. I think they come out a lot more natural when you do this to the baits. So we're going to pull it over so you can see it. I'll lay it over, because you got to remember, this is titanium white. It's a very bright white, and that's done for a reason. So when I come back to do this, it doesn't always show in the light. As soon as you turn it, it'll start showing. Get this thing going, and then we'll put it on here, and we'll go ahead and hit it. And so you can't always see it until I get done, till I start putting see, if I start turning it like that, then you see it. Now, I'm not going to get it on the fin, so I'm going to be real careful on how I do this. I'd rather have it small, so I'll switch the stencil around. I'll come in and hit it. Put a little bit here. And I'll let those dry. And see, that's what gives it that roughed up look. I'm going to heat set that really fast because I don't want to put my hands on it. And we'll spin it around. That's one of the coolest colors, though, of Colorshift I've seen in a while. It actually really... it kind of looks like the top of a, now the blueback herring, the top is a little darker, but it's got that shade. It goes from green to blue. I mean, it's a very cool shad pattern color. I'm going to be using that a lot more. So we'll go ahead and do this. And then, like I said, once it dries, you'll be able to see it. It's just hard. Like I said, even in the video that I did on the other shad, it's got to dry. And once it dries and you see it in the light, it just really does the trick. So let me clean that out. We're going to get a little bit of gold. And I'm gonna put a little bit on the face. I just like that gold tone. Most of them have that. Some of them have it going down the lateral line too. And I may do that later. I need to do a blueback heron here soon, and just for my striper fishing. And I need to do that. I gotta grab my gold. I didn't bring it over. I'm still rearranging my shop. Copper. Green. Okay, and this is a iridescent gold fine. And I will go back, since I'm already using the stencils here, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the Anarchy ones. I've got them from Jeff at Whitmore. I've got them from Russ at Insane Custom Stencils, and I usually use theirs most of the time, but I just got these playing around. You know how the black hole is with this fishing lure stuff. You're gonna have way too much than you need. It's like paints and anything else. I've got so much junk. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit of gold in there. And I'm gonna take the stencil, I'm just gonna put it, well, what I'm gonna do is, you can see where I've got Colorshift here, and then it goes back to the titanium white. I'm gonna get it on both, and then it's gonna give it a different look, two different colors, so. Hang on just a second, I got a little bit of dry tip. There we go. And like I said, it's hard to see until you start turning this bait. It's a fine gold, but it really just does enough to it. Let me see this. Yeah, it does enough to it to get the effect that I'm looking for. So we'll turn it around. I'll bring it back down and do the same thing here. Okay. And we'll go ahead and clean this out, and then we'll heat set it. And then we got to do our stencils, the scales. I'm just really trying to debate how I'm going to do that. There's a couple of ways I can do it. I can do it in white. The silver I don't think would work well with a Colorshift. I may put some black on it, but I don't want to take the total Colorshift out of it. So what I may do is go ahead and put it on there with the pearlescent white, iridescent pearl. And it's going to give it a faint. It's not going to be as noticeable as my lure I did the other day with the Side Sonic, that I did it over the black, because you're going over a lighter color. I tell you what, I think I'm going to do it in black. I'm going to take a chance. I'm not going to put it on heavy. I'm not going up on the top of it anyway. I want to be able to see it a little bit. Okay, so this is it, and they're a little bit bigger. This is the small version. I've got the small and I got the mini. I used the mini on the Side Sonic the other night, so this is going to be a different stencil. It's going to be a little bit bigger scale pattern, but we won't, like I said, I'm not going to blast it on here, because I don't want to cover up all my Colorshift. And so you can only see it when you turn the bait. So I think that's going to work out pretty good. It gives it just a faint scale pattern, and I think that'll do the trick. We can put it a little bit darker on this smooth part where you can actually see it a little bit. And that'll kind of give you an idea of what it looks like around the eyes, and that'll be kind of cool. So we'll flip it over. We'll do the same thing. take it up top, come over by the eyes, and you can actually see that a little bit better. And that gives it a really neat look. The gold, you know, when you turn this bait, you know, I think you can see it in my camera. I can see it, but it is a very cool color shift paint. I'm even gonna, I've got a clear tail. I'm even gonna leave the tail clear. I'm not even gonna do anything to the tail on this one. I think it's gonna look a whole lot better. Let me clean this gun out. Like I said, the only difference really in the baits from the other video I did on the Dirty Shad is the color shift paint's a lot lighter. The black is a lot easier to show the definition of the scale pattern, even though I can still see it. And like I said, in the sunlight, it's gonna pop, but it's just a lot harder to see on camera. It's faint, but you can still see it, even with the black going on it. I just don't want to cover up the color shift. So we'll put the tail on it, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be a fish catching lure. It actually looks really cool. So what we'll do is we're going to heat set that, and then we're going to get our eyes in it. Tell you what I am going to do real quick. I got a little bit of black, excessive black on this one side, and I'm going to cover that with some color shift, I think. I don't mind it because they're not going to be identical, but I'm going to take it and hit that. And where I'm talking about is just right here. And I'll hold it on the side so I don't let it just fade down on this whole thing. And I'll hit it with the color shift and just cover it up. Okay, I like that better. So, like I said, that's another little tip for you. Anywhere that you've got the black, you can put the color shift more on, like the fins, the kill dot, the face. It's just going to give it a cool look with the color shift, especially once I get this thing clear coated. This thing is going to bang. And the eyes are really going to make the difference. These eyes came from Lure Build. Let me see what I've done with them. What did I do with them? I thought I set them all up here before I did the start of the video. Let's see here. Well, if I can't find them, I've got some similar to it, but I wanted those. I just want to make sure I didn't set them up. I know I had set them all together, but maybe I didn't. You know, like I said, I don't edit videos. You're gonna see it just like I do it, and I make plenty of mistakes. And well, that's terrible. Here they are, right here by us. They're let me take this glove off. They just had fell in the crack. I didn't see them. I thought I'd set everything out. So what we're going to do is, these came from Lure Build, and they are just a cool looking eye. I think they're going to be a perfect match for what we got going on. And we'll get them in. That's got a screw in it for the tail. So after I get done I'm gonna put a coat of UBLS on this, and then I'm gonna put my epoxy on it. I'm having a terrible time not finding my stuff. That's terrible. This one right here will do it. All right, so we're gonna take this plastic off because they've got a little thin sheet of plastic over them, just protecting them. And I'm gonna take them off and figure out how these go in. If I can get this plastic off my hand. Or those gloves, my hands have been bad in the last year, and I've tried to really watch over them. So what I need to do is spin it around. I got it on backward. I'll try to do this right here on tape, so you can see it. Yeah, these are gonna look really good. I always do make the bait, so I do encourage you this. When you start painting, plan your baits out. Don't just sit down and just start winging the paint. Plan your baits out, plan out your eyes, plan your paints out, and just, I mean, there's days I come in here and wing it, but most of the time I do have a plan. So that's what we got. This is the Storm Shift Green Shad. The blanks came from Lure Build. This will give you a good look at it. It has a great color shift. So if you haven't bought any of these Green Stuff World paints, go give them a try. Now, like I said, I've paid for these of my own. They're not a sponsor of this video. But it really kind of is a really neat shad pattern. So we'll set this over to the side and we'll go over the paint. So what I did was I started out with Autoborn Sealer White. I believe in that. I clean my blanks with alcohol, let them dry, put a sealer over it. Then I come back over with the titanium white from Golden. Then we used the texture stencil again from Gerald Mendez, our tool, and did our little design on the top. Did that in black. And the reason we did that was the color shift. You got to put that over a black base. I think you can use a white base. It's just not going to be, it's not going to give you the effect that you're looking for. You know, that's really going to make it pop. Then we went back over the top. Well, I tell you what we did. We did our fin, which we used the fin stencil from Whitmore Farm, Fin 1. That is an excellent stencil. If you don't have that, you definitely need to go get that, especially if you're doing a bunch of shad or brim or anything for that matter. That Jeff has some top quality stencils, so go check him out. I use this old, and I hate to tell you, I don't even know what this, I can't remember what this is actually called. It's a shadow type bait. I got it at Costa Airbrush. I know they still have them. I've just taped off the holes that I use for my kill dots because I don't want overspray getting all over my baits. Then we used the new small version of just the scale tips from Anarchy. We used the Creature Feature really small model stencil on the face with gold on it. We came back and used the Gerald Mendez stencil and used iridescent pearl to get the blotchiness on the sides of the shad. That gives it the beat up look. That I really do. I think that's really what makes the bait. So if you learn how to do that and just take your time and get used to those stencils, you'll really turn out some good looking some shad baits. We used the eyes from Lure Build. They're really gonna make this thing pop. We're actually going to use our lure coat. If you haven't used lure coat, it's very good. I know some people have had some issues with fisheye and stuff, but they've got to be very careful with using a harsh cleaner. That, for the most part, that's been what's happened. We've kind of got to the bottom of it. All I use is 4011 reducer and hot water in my guns. I don't use anything else. If I accidentally leave paint in one of my guns, I may use Restore from Createx, which is an excellent product, but that is it. I'm not putting anything harsh in these guns. So if that's something that, you know, if that's a tip that you can take away that'll help you too, because especially if you're using, well, really any of them, KBS, whether you're using Defcom, True Coat, Lure Coat, UV, it's going to have a reaction to it. So be smart about that. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. I really can't not tell y'all how much I appreciate all the support that I'm getting. Hit the bell notification so you know when I have upcoming videos. And like I always say, I'll catch you next time. Thanks.